Yes, good morning, everyone. Are we live already? Are we live? That was so fast. So good morning, everyone. First of all, our topic for the day, we had such a huge response from people. We've had emails blowing up our computer because of this subject. We've got lots and lots of questions for you today, and we're hoping that those of you who join us live will have your questions. Remember, go to the bottom right corner of your computer or your screen, whether you're using your iPad or whatever it is you're doing, bottom right hand screen, and it will say chat. And if you click on chat, it will take you to our live chat and you can type in your question. And Carolyn is checking all those questions as we speak. Carolyn is sitting to our far right. Say good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning, Carolyn.
She never lets me down. And usually he goes first, but he's going second this time. Gregor says good morning to you. Gregor, as always, is standing by my side as we're doing this. I also have a little guest on the show, but he's asleep right now. He's curled up next to me. He may wake up. He may come and say hello, or he may not. We have Cachorro, who is sound asleep, so we're not going to disturb him. All right, so again, our topic for the day is what's going on in the spirit world, part 2. And we do have some very interesting questions, and I do have one or two little anecdotes of my own. I'm playing about with this screen there. Let's get it a bit. There we are. I have one or two little anecdotes, all of my own. So why don't we just get going? How about that? Let me get comfortable. Oh, am I sitting comfortable? Oh, am I sitting comfortably? Yes, I've got an angel. See that bronze angel over my shoulder there? Right. Okay. If I sit in the wrong place, it makes it look like I've got something spouting out of the top of my head. All right, Carolyn, let's go.
All right, first question. This is from Albertine, who lives in Holland, and she asks, I have a question. So you asked, and now I have the courage to ask.
Okay, Albertine, good morning.
The first question, Rosemary, you as a healer and a medium, how long can you do this special work for?
I hope forever. I used to worry, and if I think about it now, I might still get a bit worried. I used to worry that, I'd maybe do something stupid, or, I wouldn't be quite good enough or something or another. And the spirit world, would decide that, maybe it was time for me to retire or quit or something. But as long as they allow me to do this work, I will continue to do it. And I envision doing it, and even on my deathbed, even as I'm taking my last breath, I hope that I'll be doing it for that long. I don't think I'll ever retire fully from this work. All right, next question.
Second part of her question.
Oh, that was part A.
Yes.
All right, Albertine, part B is?
As a child, I was a victim of incest, just like my mother and her mother. What can Grey Eagle tell us about this shame?
Albertine, first of all, for all of you out there who have had something similar, I never had sexual abuse as a child, but I certainly had physical abuse as a child. The shame is not yours. The shame is theirs. And you should never attach shame to what was done to you by someone else, especially when you were not able, or for whatever reason, not able to defend yourself or to make it stop. You should never, ever look at yourself with shame of any description of any kind, darling, because those people who perpetrated that vile act, they are the ones who should be shameful. What was the question? I've sort of got carried away with the shame bit. And
well, what can Grey Eagle tell us about the shame?
Well, it isn't your shame. First of all, it isn't your shame. I'm asking Grey Eagle because I'm asking, because I'm feeling his hand on my shoulder as I'm speaking to you. So his answer to this question is that many people suffer abuse. Even as adults, people suffer abuse. People who feel that they're not strong enough, or they are simply not physically strong enough, or they're not capable. No matter what is done to you physically, nobody can control your mind. Nobody can tell you what to think. Nobody can make you think what they think. Nobody can make you, nobody can change your soul or change your heart. You know, in the war years, when people were, you know, taken and tortured and so on and so forth, and that happened a great deal, and in some parts of the world I think it still does. Yes, you can torture the body, and you can force people into doing on some physical level, and even sometimes on some emotional level, you can force people to do, to say, and to be what you want them to be. Those people who torture, they can keep torturing you until you tell them exactly what it is they want to hear. But that doesn't mean that they can get into your mind, and it doesn't mean they can change what you're thinking and what you're feeling inside. You control that. You own that. And for all of you who are out there, and Greg has put his hand on my shoulder again to emphasize this, for all of you who are out there who are suffering any kind of shame because of something someone else did to you, it's time you lifted your head up. Stand up. Stand up and acknowledge you couldn't change it then, but you can certainly change it now. You can be strong, you can be powerful, you can be whatever you want to be. Gregor reminds us the power of our mind is the most powerful and the most positive thing we have. The power of our thoughts is the most powerful and the positive thing that we have. So, you know, for all of you who are, God forbid, hanging your head in shame because what someone else did to you, please stop. Please don't do that. It's not necessary. You are strong. You are powerful. All you have to do is lift your head up, look in the mirror, and see yourself as God sees you, as something beautiful and something to be treasured and something precious. I hope that helps you. Next question.
We'll go on over to a little lighter subject. This is from M. She did not want her name used, so we'll just say M.
I love M&Ms.
She said, Monday night, I had an encounter with a spirit that freaked me out. It was not a dream, so I wondered how a spirit could have sexual relations with me in my sleep. Okay. I adore this person, so I can't say I minded, but I was shocked. What was happening? Am I being possessed by this person's spirit? Is it evil? Is it somebody trying to trick me into accepting it by coming to me as this loved one? Please explain.
All right. Because I'm not there with you. What's this lady's name?
M.
Oh, that's right, M. And because I'm not there with you, I'm not sitting with you, I'm not quite sure how to answer this. So I'm asking Gregor what his opinion of this is. Is it possible, I can answer this, is it possible that you can have some kind of sexual encounter in your sleep state with someone in the spirit world? And I can answer this absolutely categorically yes, because it has happened to me. I was only talking about this to a friend of mine the other day, and it's very hard to describe it, and it's not a physical thing that happens. It's not a man and a woman having a physical encounter, if you understand me. It's not the physical sexual act that we're talking about here. It's much more of a spiritual thing. However, the result is, it can be very, very powerful and quite incredible. And it's a great experience. I don't think, I'm asking Gregor, are you being possessed? No, the answer is no. Are you imagining it? I don't think so. I would take it as an experience. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would accept it as one of the experiences that some of us are actually fortunate enough to have sometimes. And, you know, and let me know if it happens again. And we'll see what we can do about stopping it. If you don't like it, we'll see what we can do about stopping it for you, which I know we can do easily. In fact, I will tell you, if you don't like it, if you, we've got something going on with our iPad here. If you don't like it, if you don't like the experience, then simply when you go to bed at night, just ask God, trust in God, have faith in God, and trust that God will absolutely know what to do. And just ask for God's guidance and his protection, and be very specific. You don't want that to happen again, and it won't. And that's it's as simple as that. Carolyn leapt up there, running away, because what happened? I don't know what happened there, but we got noise, somebody talking on the computer. All right, so all right,
We're good.
we're good now, apparently. All right, so shall we have our next question? I know we've got lots of questions, so go ahead.
Okay, let's see. Hi, Rosemary. This is from Sarah.
Hello, Sarah.
And this is Orchid Sarah. We'll call her Orchid Sarah.
All right, darling. Yes.
Sarah says, when it comes to religion, I was turned off by my Catholic upbringing because it excludes such ideas as gay, transgender, and women's rights to their body. It seems many, many Christian churches use Jesus as a reason to hate all that are different from white, straight men. You talk of Jesus being a friend. What would he make of that form of Christianity? And what do I do? What do I bring up my tiny kids in?
Oh, that's a good question, Sarah. Yes, I do say that I believe that Christ is my friend, and I've known him forever, since I can remember. I was fortunate enough to go to a beautiful church, a wonderful church. You know, the church is not the building, and the church is not necessarily the religion either. The church is the people in the church. The church is the people who run the church, who deal with the church, and who are there to help and guide those of us who need help and guidance. So I actually went to, if I say Baptist church, it is not the same as a Baptist church in America. We do not do the hallelujah. We don't have nearly as much fun when we're singing and praying, because we don't do the hallelujah thing. And we don't make a lot of noise either. We're much more sedate in England. However, it was a Baptist church. It was called the Church of Christ. It was a little church on Saffron Lane, at the top of Saffron Lane in the city of Leicester in England, where I was born. And if anybody else went to that church at around the same time I did, please email me, connect with me, because I'd love to hear from you. I went back a few years ago to this same church, and it wasn't the same church at all. It's been taken over by some other. The church I knew was gone. The building was there, but nothing else was the same. It was very, very sad for me. You know, you grow up, you think it's always something you love and cherish. It's always going to be there. All right. But as I've just said to you, Sarah, the church is not the religion. It's the people. I do know Catholic priests. I do know Catholics. I know Catholics who are gay, actually. I know, I do know that there are certain priests who are much more, let's say, modern in their thinking, more accepting, more tolerant, more loving, more understanding. I don't think we can say that the Catholic Church and in its entirety does not embrace gay people, people who are different, so it's, you have to look for the people. I went with a friend of mine on Monday evening. There's something happening in the town where I live in Florida. They have once or twice a year, they have some sort of a drive where they try and raise funds for homeless kids and kids from, let's say, poor communities who cannot afford perhaps a school uniform, or they can't afford medical assistance, and they can't afford, to have their eyes tested, and so on and so forth. So that, so we have this drive. So and this is several churches all joined together to organize this. So I went as a volunteer, and there were probably 200 volunteers. They fed us pizza, not me because I don't eat pizza, but they fed us pizza, and then we had sort of like an induction thing. And the woman who was running the place, actually running the whole thing, very nice person, and I'm absolutely sure, very, very sincere. However, she got up to speak and to tell us all about it, and to tell us what we were there for and what our volunteering would involve and so on. I think I heard her use the Lord's name so many times. And you can say I'm a Jesus lover. All right, I am, because I love my Savior, because he is my Savior. Not because he died on the cross necessarily for me, but because throughout my life he has been there for me, and he's been a Savior in many circumstances for me. But even I started to get really irritated when she went on about how Christ tells us to do this and Christ says that, and if it weren't for Christ, this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking to myself, how offended would people be who are not of the Christian faith? Or perhaps everybody in this room is of the Christian faith. What about the people who are Jewish? What about the people who are Muslim? I mean, are they excluded from this? And I do find myself, I know what you're saying, Sarah, because sometimes, and I have two sisters who sometimes, especially one of my sisters, God, I hope they're not watching this show, but they, one of my sisters, if I hadn't seen her for several months at a time, or maybe even a year or two, the first thing she would ask me when I saw her was, did you pray today? Very religious person. I hate the word religion because it means different things to different people, but let's say very religious, very, very involved in the church and the church's beliefs. They let her down big time when they thought that she was, gay, which she is. And they kicked her out of the church. She went to them for help. And instead of helping her, they kicked her out of the church. So I know exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about churches and religion and the intolerance of not just, the Catholic Church, priests, rabbis, ministers, parsons, you name them. I know about the intolerance of many, but I also know about the tolerance and the love of many too. So I think, Sarah, what you have to do is you have to teach your children what you feel from your heart. And if you want them to go to church, sort of, do a little survey, go from place to place, check them out and see which church has your same ideas, which church has your values. And, and if, no matter whether it's a church, a supermarket, somebody's house, no matter where it is, schools, wherever it is you go, that you find intolerance of other people's differences, turn away, because that's not you. That's certainly not me. Or stand up and voice, say, hey, Now, was I being intolerant when I was listening to this woman on Monday night talking about Christ? And I say it again, I'm a Christian, I'm very proud of it, but there are certain Christian beliefs and certain people who are Christian who, in my opinion, go way overboard. It's too much for me. I don't condemn them. I'm not, I try and be tolerant of everybody. Everybody has their own way of believing and everyone has their own way of using their faith and having their faith. But if you're talking about love and tolerance and Christ, and that's what Christ taught us, don't turn around then and say that you're anti-gay or anti-anything, in fact. Be tolerant. So that's what you need to do, Sarah. You need to find a church, if it's a church or a way of life or a group of people who have your same beliefs. Don't condemn the Catholic Church. Don't condemn the Christian Church. Don't condemn the Muslim Church. The church is not the religion. The church is the people in it. And you can go to one church that says they have the same faith as another church, and the people in it are so different and so much more loving and tolerant. So that's what you need to do. Right.
Amber says she's loved watching your cooking videos this week.
Did you like my skinny minis? Did anybody make them?
I asked. Nobody. Dean said, I need a written out recipe.
Oh, we can give you a written recipe.
And he says he hopes the new book has cups, teaspoons, tablespoons, and not just weight.
Oh, yeah, it does. Yes, don't worry. And actually, what we're going to do for everybody is we are going to put a little conversion table in there. in the front or the back of the book, probably. So we're going to have conversions. However, now let's be real, Dean. Go to Google. Google it. I mean, you know, when I came to America and it was all cups and things, cups and half cups and this, that, and the other, and I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no idea. Guess what I did? I just worked it out. So, you know, even if you're really not good at cooking, and you don't even have to be good at math, all you have to do is go Google search, and or what did we do the other day? But in the skinny minis, I made one so I could test whether it was good or not. And in that one, it was 2 teaspoons, I think, of chopped oregano.
Yes.
Or in my country, we say oregano. And so it's 2 teaspoons. Well, to make 6, then that's whatever that is, 12 teaspoons. So I had to say to Carolyn, how many teaspoons in a tablespoon?
Right.
It took her a minute, 30 seconds, maybe.
Yeah.
But this is what Carolyn did. For all of you out there who
I answered and then I Googled it because I knew that.
Oh, you did?
I
You knew
did,
that?
yes.
Well, I certainly didn't.
Yeah, no, I knew.
Who knew it was
3.
3 teaspoons makes a day? I have no idea. All right, no idea whatsoever anyway. But I eyeball a lot of the time anyway, even though I will write it down and give you very specific measurements. Yes, I will, I promise you. Still, I eyeball it because I've been doing this for so long. So I'll just, oh, that needs a bit more of this, or it needs a bit more of that. When I was making the bechamel sauce, it's like having to put the milk in the jug to add extra milk was a real pain to me because I eyeball it usually, but I know that for the recipe, everybody's going to want to know how many ounces of milk are you putting in there. Be exact, which is what I'm trying to do. All right, so this is what happened. So Carolyn was so impressed by my beautiful skinny minis, which are they're not anything to do with diet. It's just they're little pies. So I call them skinny minis. All right, so Carolyn went home and she didn't make her own pastry. Is that right? You
Yes,
went out.
that's correct.
You went out and bought. She bought ready-made pastry. I don't know what you bought. Was it frozen or what?
No, it was thawed. It wasn't frozen.
Right. Anyway, so she bought ready-made pastry, and you said it tasted good, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Was it
Not quite as good as your homemade, but I don't have that fancy machine.
Good thing she said that.
Right? I had to spend $5. What cost you 50 cents?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And you don't need a fancy machine actually to make pastry. My friend Karen was here from Canada. She doesn't have anything fancy, and I gave her a cooking lesson and I showed her how to make pastry using your hands, which is what we all used to do years ago. Yes, I do have a fancy machine and it takes me like 30 seconds for what will take me 10 or so minutes by hand, but hey, you can do it. All right, so Carolyn went home and she used her bought pastry and she had to buy oregano, and I've got a big pot full out there. How much did it cost you for the oregano? $2. Ooh. I just go out and pick mine, right? But you said they were great.
They were wonderful.
And here's the real test of tasty is that her husband did not say, well, it needs a bit of cheese in this.
Right. No, he liked them.
He liked them just as they were.
And I had one left after we ate them.
But you made 8.
I did.
Did you make 8 with my measurements, with the same measurements?
Yes.
So she used a little bit smaller pan then, right?
No, it was the exact same pan. It's just mine weren't rounded on the top. Mine were more flat.
Oh, so she didn't put as much. You didn't put as much filling.
Right, because I had 4 people. I had to.
Oh, so she eked out. Okay, so she eked out, which you can do. So you made 8, right? Yeah. And they were good, right?
We ate 7 the first night, and then last night I wrapped the last one in tin foil, stuck it in my oven at 420 minutes. It was just as good as the night before.
And so now you know what to do to heat them up. Mine are in the freezer, just so as you know, right now, because as much as I love them, I couldn't possibly eat 6 of those things by myself, and I'm not going to give them away. My sister's coming, so they're in the freezer ready for when she comes. All right, can we get back to the subject? And I'm glad you're all enjoying the cooking show. So, all right, and if you want to know more, it's on Facebook. We're doing these little videos on Facebook. So, all right,
Ricky says.
Yes, come on, let's get back to the subject.
Rosemary.
Hi, Ricky.
What's the spirit world's perspective on current affairs? I know it's a bit controversial, but I would love to learn your perspective, as in how the world is evolving, Trump, ISIS.
Well, I think that I think the first thing we have to remember is this, that as much as we know and as much as we can see and as much as we might watch the news or, you know, listen to the news and really keep ourselves updated on stuff, which I have to tell you I don't do. Many, many years ago in England, my daughter was probably around 10 years old, and my neighbor was convinced that World War III was coming, and the Russians had actually positioned their rockets towards our little island. That was a fact. And everyone was talking about, you know, we'd be the first to go, we'd be blown to smithereens and so on and so forth. And a friend of mine had on his calendar on his kitchen wall, he had, you know, sometime in September marked for this event. Now, you know, this is going back 30 years. And I was so scared. I got myself so worked up about it. And I was worried, not for me, but I was worried for Samantha and what could we do and where could we do. And the closer it came to this date, the more hype there was on the news, so on and so forth. And the date came and the date went. And you're thinking, well, maybe it's the next day, or maybe it's just September, or maybe it's October. And at a certain point, I thought, can't do this anymore. So that was when I made the decision, and I never, ever listened to the news. I have not read a newspaper in 30 years. I do know what's going on in the world, amazingly, right? I amaze Carolyn.
I come in and I say, hey, right? Have you heard?
Yeah, I amaze Carolyn because I don't listen to the news, and I do listen to what is it? NPR. I do listen to NPR when I'm in the car, which is not that often, but it's one of my favorite shows to listen to. And I'll urge all of you to subscribe to that because it's brilliant. All right, but what does the spirit world think? They see much more than we do, and they often will know the outcome of certain things. So, for instance, I think Trump just said we're banning transgenders from the military, and you might have your opinions for or against, all right? But in the spirit world, we don't really know what the outcome of this is going to be. We can suspect an outcome. We can you know, think on it. We can make an educated guess on, you know, whether or not, you know, there are going to be riots in the streets about this, or whether or not this actually can work. We can have our own opinions about it. But what we have to understand is, in the spirit world, they see much more than we do. They see much further than we do. They're able to see outcomes. So while we're getting our knickers in a knot, as the Brits will say, over some things, you know, and worrying about things that perhaps, you know, are going to end up being nothing. Well, but we don't know that. While we're getting our knickers in a knot over these things, the spirit world can be very calm about it. That doesn't mean they don't have opinions, because they do. Gregor has his hand on my shoulder here, and his answer here to your question is, the world turns, and the world turns slowly, meaning time, distance. This world of ours has been going for many centuries, all right? This earth of ours has been spinning on this little axis for many centuries. So the world turns slowly, and the only thing that those in the spirit world are interested in here is not changing what is going on. And this is, I'm learning something here. They're not interested in changing the outcomes, because the outcomes are what the outcomes will be. It's already been decided anyway. So it's not something that we can actually change. What we can do, and what the spirit world tries to do, is they try to infuse their energy into a loving and a calming and a peaceful energy, so that whatever happens here, we're able to deal with it better and in a more positive sense. I'm asking Gregor because if I were in the spirit world, I was looking down, I would probably be thoroughly ashamed of the intolerance of this world. And so we've already talked about the intolerance. I would probably be ashamed of myself and of the human race for the intolerance that they show in so many regards. That does not mean I'm telling you that I approve or disapprove of what Trump is doing, because I'm not saying that at all. But the intolerance that is shown by so many people in this world, I'm sure that the spirit world, Gregor says, we shed tears. We shed tears. But we as human beings, we have to take it little by little, step at a time, step at a time. The spirit world already knows the outcome to this. We are just going along, doing the best we can. So it's up to each of us as individuals to not necessarily complain about what Trump does or doesn't do, because I think people are too focused on Trump, because Trump can't make the decisions on his own. I know we think he can, but he can't. So he obviously has lots of other people making those decisions with him, and he may have some good arguments for some of the things he does, and he may have not so good arguments for other things that he does. And, you know, I mean, the political world is a crazy world, and it changes from day to day. We just have to, just as human beings, as spiritual beings, we just have to pray and hope for tolerance and show by our example that that's what we want our world to be. Let's have our next question.
Ambra says, the other night she had a strange encounter. I know spirits visit me in my sleep. My dad came knocking on the door and woke me up because he heard noises coming from my room. I didn't hear them.
Wait a minute. Her dad's not dead. Just checking. Her
Right.
father is not in the spirit world.
Yeah.
Her father was in the, wherever, in the house.
Because he heard noises coming from my room.
Gotcha. Right. Just checking.
And she says, I was upset with him for waking me. Was a spirit trying to get my attention in my sleep?
Very often that does happen. And people in the spirit world will come to us in our sleep state. That sort of sleep state when we're half awake, half asleep, you know, and they'll come to us and they'll visit with us. They'll, you know, just sometimes they'll just come visit. Sometimes they'll come because we need their help with something. Sometimes they just want to come and chat or to let us know that they're there with us. But yes, very often people have their most powerful experiences in that half awake, half asleep state, where not only do we have our visits from our loved ones in the spirit world, but we, because we're in that half awake, half asleep state, we remember them. We can acknowledge them. We know that this is happening to us, which is great. And tell your father to not knock on the door again, you know, not disturb you.
I had a question. And it is, when you see something that reminds you of someone who has passed and you silently remember them, such as I think of my in-laws quite often, they've both passed. Do they know that we are thinking of them, or are we thinking of them because they wanted us to?
Good question. Well, thoughts, we're going to talk about thoughts. Thoughts are positive, thoughts are living things. Our thoughts, our little tiny pulses of energy, which is what a thought is. Our thoughts go out into the universe and they go to whatever place we are sending them. So if we're thinking about a grandmother or a grandfather, our thoughts, that little tiny pulse of energy will go out to that person. It will touch that person. That person will know that we're thinking of them. And then that thought comes back to us. The reverse also happens. Someone in the spirit world can be thinking of us, or they've come to visit us for whatever reason. Maybe they just want to check to see if we're okay, or maybe they know that we're in a desperate situation, we need help. For whatever reason it might be, people in the spirit world will send out their thoughts to us, tiny pulses of energy, which will travel through time and space throughout the universe, and then they will touch us. And this is when all of a sudden we start to think about someone we maybe haven't thought of in years. And we, you know, how did that happen? Why am I thinking about this person? And that's that person sending their thoughts to us. And when we acknowledge that, we acknowledge we've got that thought. Why am I thinking, oh, why am I thinking of him? I haven't thought of him or her for ages and ages. We acknowledge this, and we acknowledge also with our mind, with our thoughts, you know, our love for this person, or maybe not even love. It could be even, you know, dislike or whatever those thoughts will be. That energy will go back out there and touch that person, and that person will understand that we are acknowledging that we have recognized them. We know that they're trying to be in touch with us, and we're sending our love to them very often as they're sending our love to us. Be careful though, because as I've said, thoughts are living things, and so negative thoughts can have, you know, they have that same, remember your thoughts, whatever they are, whether they're positive or whether they're negative, they will go out into the universe and they will come back to you. And it's a little bit like that, you know, the snowball effect, or the rolling stone that gathers moss, you know. As the thought goes out and gathers in the universe, it gathers like thoughts, like energy, and it grows bigger and bigger. When it reaches that person and then comes back to us, it's coming back to us. And, you know, our energy always comes back to its source. But it's growing and growing, getting bigger and bigger all the time. If we're thinking thoughts of love and positivity and positive energy and so on, we've talked before about how much positive energy can and does help us tremendously. So when we're talking about that and sending out our positive thoughts, and those thoughts growing and growing and coming back to us and becoming more positive, you can, you know, you understand it, and you understand how powerful our thoughts can be. But be careful, because when we send out negative thoughts, the same thing happens, and that negativity will come back to us, and it will affect us. So when joyful energy comes to us, because we've sent it out and now it's coming back to us and it's joyful, it makes us happier, it makes us feel more content, it makes us more whole and more centered in ourselves. When we think negative thoughts and they go out, then they come back, and they come back bigger, bigger, that negative energy can pull us down. We can become depressed, and we don't really know the reason why we're so depressed. You know, when you have people visiting you, for instance, you know, or you go out, you meet someone for coffee or for lunch or something, and you know, if that person is really positive, you come away and you're happy, you feel great. But someone can come and visit you, and, you know, they've got this awful negative energy, and you were great before they turned up, and now when they leave, you're all depressed and miserable. Well, it's because you've absorbed their energy. Energy, power of thought, and energy is the most powerful possession we have. And we should be careful how we use it, and we should use it wisely, and we should use it well. What we should always remember, though, is that we should use it, because it's there for us.
All right, we've got Eric asking.
Hello, Eric.
How can we improve our receptive communication to get and hear these messages? But we also have Joyce, who asked the same thing. Can you give me any advice how to accept a visit from my son from the spirit world? It has been 11 years.
Oh. All right, so what they're both asking in different ways then, Eric, both Eric and Joyce, hello both of you. What you're both asking is, how do we become more sensitive? How do we become more aware of those in the spirit world, and how can we communicate with them better? Well, it requires a lot of patience. Now, Joyce, I can hear you saying, come on, it's been 11 years. How much longer have I got to wait, and how much more patient do I have to be? I think very often, and especially with children, when somebody loses a child, very, very often, our emotions, our nerves, our desperate wanting and needing can act as barriers. They can act like a barrier, and they can literally block anything that's coming to us, and certainly can block anything that's flowing from us. So, you know, so how do you become more relaxed, and how do you understand and accept, and how do you become more in tune? You know, there's a very simple exercise. It's going to sound too simple to even, you know, work, but I tell people to do this all the time. You take 10 minutes every day. You're waving that paper around at me. Can you really stop? You're having a hot flash over there. The fan's going. I mean, what more do you want here?
It to be 40 degrees cooler.
I'm freezing in this house. We've got we've got the air on, we've got the fan on, and she's going like this. All right. Sorry about that for you. Sorry. Okay. So, little exercise, and it really works, but it doesn't work if you're only going to do it for a few days, or if you're only going to do it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. This is an exercise that you should do every day, hopefully for the rest of your life. If you miss a day here and there, it's fine, but you need to spend simply 10 minutes, no more, no less, 10 minutes of every day. You sit in a chair and you say to those in the spirit world, okay, this is my time for you. I'm giving, this is all for you. If you would like to be here with me and join with me, I'd love it. But if you don't, it's okay too. This is my time. I want to spend this time with you. It's only 10 minutes in a day. I want to spend this time with you. Then what you have to do is you just, when you put that out there and you call to whoever it is, Joyce, your son, Eric, I don't know, whoever, but anybody listening here, if you've got a specific person, or if it's just simply those in the spirit world, anyone in the spirit world who you'd like to connect with, you put yourself out there and you sit there. Here's the difficult part of this exercise, because it sounds too simple and too easy to work, right? This is the difficulty, and this is the difficulty that most of you have. Number one, when you sit down and you shut up, 10 minutes is an awfully long time. You could go to sleep easily. You could start to get irritable. You could start to think about what you're going to have for dinner, the new recipe you're going to create. You can start and think about things that are going on outside of you. But the thing is to not think of those things. The thing is to, in your mind, keep in mind that you're here and you're spending this time, Joyce, with your son. This is my 10 minutes with you, and I love you very much. The trick also is you do not ask for signs. Oh gosh, it's so hard not to do that. You do not say, not 3 times, if it's you, whatever. You do not ask for a thing, because this is time that you're spending completely selflessly. So, visualize him as he was when he was a baby, how you used to rock him to sleep. And you'd gaze down at him and you'd hold him in your arms and you'd rock him to sleep. And you wouldn't say anything. You might sing a little song, and you can do that while you're sitting there. You can maybe sing a song that you might have sang to him when he was a boy, or you can hum a tune or whatever. But you just need to be doing things for that person who you want to connect with. Then you have to pay attention. Pay attention to your thoughts, pay attention to your feelings, pay attention to, any little thing you might see, a flash of light here, or you might feel someone putting pressure on your shoulder, or you might feel someone tickling your hair. You might have an itch on your nose. Well, scratch it, but it might be someone in the spirit world doing this to you to get your attention. Don't dismiss anything, but also don't make it up as you go along. And just be patient. And if you do that every day for a week or 2 weeks or maybe a month or so, I promise you're going to start and get results. You're going to start to, even if it's only that you feel a presence, you are going to start and get results, because you are giving this 10 minutes every day selflessly. You're not asking. You're not asking them for confirmation. You're not asking them to do anything. You're simply saying, this is my 10 minutes. I'm here for you if you want me, or if you need me, or if you'd like to visit with me. This is me with my 10 minutes for you. If you'd like to come around and let me know, I'd love it. But if you're too busy, that's also okay. And you do that every day and for the rest of your life with a bit of luck, and you will start to see results. And Joyce, if you can do that, what I would love for you to do is to email us, rosemary@rosemaryaltea.com, and let us know what happens. Keep us posted, darling.
All right, we've got a question from Martha.
Hello, Martha.
She says, when someone is sick on earth, our loved ones' spirits here long before we pass, because when my brother was sick, he was bedridden because of an aneurysm and 2 strokes. He could not communicate very well. But this one day when I was at the hospital to visit, he kept looking over my head. So I asked him what he was seeing, and to my surprise, he answered, "If I told you, you wouldn't
believe me." Yeah.
Did he get help communicating, since other days it was very hard for him to respond to any question?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I see this all the time as a healer. I go into hospitals. I have patients. I go into people's homes and we give healing to people. And I say it all the time. You can see when someone is in that process of dying. You'll often see. I've seen this so many times. You might see somebody. They're lying in their bed and they can barely move anymore. And all of a sudden they'll raise their hands up and they'll reach out as if they're reaching out to someone. So, they're reaching out there and they're reaching out to that someone. And that they're seeing what perhaps you can't see. That even sometimes I can't see, because just because I can see people who have died doesn't mean I see everybody or can see everybody. But yes, in that process, of dying, or not even dying, in that process when somebody is really, really sick, our loved ones in the spirit world will definitely come around us. They will definitely be there for us. And sometimes I'll walk into somebody's hospital room or in somebody's bedroom, and I'll see a host of people in the spirit world gathered all around the bed. That's when I'll often know at that point that, this person doesn't have too much longer to go, because everybody's gathering and the people in the spirit world get very excited when we're coming. I know that, when we lose someone, it's an awful thing for us. We have the grief and the trauma of losing someone. But in the meantime, those in the spirit world are generally having a party of sorts. They're excited, they're thrilled that this person is finally coming back to them and being a part. They're coming home. They're coming back to this place where they originated, where they belong. And the people in the spirit world are out there having a blast, having a ball, while we here are sobbing our socks off because we've lost someone and we don't see them anymore, or we think we're never going to see them again. So what is painful for us in that regard is really exciting and special for those in the spirit world who are having their parties and their get-togethers and their joyful reunions. I know it sounds a weird thing to say that, how can people in the spirit world be having a party? Well, while we here, who they also love, we're sobbing our socks off, we're crying and crying. How can they be laughing and having a joyful time while we're upset? Well, remember what I said earlier, they can see further than we can see. They can see the outcome of things way beyond what we can see. And they know that even though we're crying now, there's going to be a joyful time when we do the same thing when it's our time to go, because there's nothing sure on this earth. When someone is born, there is nothing surer than that they will die at some point, because we can only last as so long. Let's have our next question, shall we?
All righty. Maggie asks, is it possible, if you have negative thoughts, is it possible when you realize it to reverse the effect?
Yes, definitely, Maggie. Yes, that's it. That's an absolute yes. Yes, it is possible to reverse. It's very, very possible to reverse. You can't. I don't know that you could necessarily undo any damage that has already been done, but you can rectify the damage, or you can turn a negative into a positive very, very easily. And again, it's all about understanding the power that we have. What we have to remember is this: when God plonked us on this earth, right? And I'm going to say that God is only dog spelt backwards. You do know that, right? God is a word. Whether you consider God as a man with a long white beard sitting on a throne, whether you consider God as a power and a force and an energy force, however you consider God, whatever it was that brought us here to this earth, God did not leave us with, you know, with helpless. He did not just, you know, dump us here and say, all right, now you're on your own. No way. He gave us so many different tools, and I'm not talking about the computer, and I'm not talking about the cell phone. I'm not talking about this wonderful thing that we're on now, YouTube. I'm not talking about those things. He gave us tools. He gave us a mind. He gave us a brain. He gave us arms and legs, and even those of us who are disabled, he gave us ways that would enable us to combat and to overcome the negatives that come into our lives. He gave us the tools for us to be positive and to make the best of and to make the most of the life that we have here. Carolyn and I were talking earlier, and I said, you know, I'm pretty sure that when I get up there, God is going to say to me, well, did you blow it? You know, all of my thoughts and feelings and all of my beliefs are going to be revisited, and some I will have got right, I'm sure, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot that I've got wrong. Nobody's infallible. We are human, and you know what? That's okay. I can't go every day of my life wondering if I'm making mistakes. I can only go every day of my life wondering if I made a mistake yesterday, maybe I'll have a chance today to put it right, but I'm going to go forward with my life. I'm going to go forward in a very positive and a very powerful way. So, you know, when somebody puts you in a situation that maybe you don't like Carolyn did to me yesterday, with the lawnmower guy, I must tell you, right? Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who started to hit on me, which I don't want. Very nice guy, very nice, very nice. I'm old enough to be his mother. Well, maybe not quite that old, but I'm getting there. And I'm, you know, I've had a toy boy years ago. I don't want another one. Thank you, Karen. She puts me in some awkward situations. However, here's the thing. I could have been upset with her. I could have been furious. I could have been really angry about it. She probably wouldn't have done it if she'd known I'd be angry. But I have choices about my attitude, whatever it is. I have choices when I look at, I'm doing all this fabulous cooking, and then I look at the kitchen and it's all cleanup time. Oh my, you know, then what? You know, so we have choices about our lives. We have choices about what happens to us. We have choices about our attitude. If we don't have a choice about many things, and many of you don't have choices about many things, I do know that. But one thing you do have a choice about, and that is your attitude. And if you can laugh, you are saved. I can tell you that. My sense of humor, my horrible British sense of humor, which is really, really, really kind of, well, you might call it sarcastic. Yes. Would you call it? Yes, yeah. It is not meant to be sarcastic at all. But anyway, it is a British sense of humor, and all you Brits out there, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying.
It was hilarious listening to you speak to the British man on the phone the other day, because
I was talking to a British man on the phone.
Yes, when you were calling over there.
Right, yeah.
And you both had the same humor, and it was very amusing listening to you two be sarcastic to each other, and it didn't bother either one of you.
I was talking. It was true. I was talking to someone in England. It was, I didn't know him, but you know, pretty quickly we got friendly, because that's who I am. And that's how the Brits are mostly. We are a very friendly lot, but we do have a sense of humor that perhaps, let's be kind and say, Americans don't necessarily get it. How about that?
I agree.
Because, you know, Americans perceive that we're being sarcastic. We're not being sarcastic. We're just being lots and lots of fun. Getting off a sense of humor. Our attitude is everything. We have a choice of our attitude. In the spirit world, believe it or not, those in the spirit world, not everybody has a great attitude. We don't all suddenly, you know, turn around and become perfect beings because we're now dead and we're in heaven. That's not the way it is. And I've met many people in the spirit world who don't have great attitudes. I've met people in the spirit world who really struggle and fight with themselves and with their attitude, because they know their attitude has probably been the cause of lots of family issues, lots of family upset. They know they have probably a stinking attitude, but they still fight with it, and they still do sometimes have an attitude that is not so great. I've spoken to people in the spirit world who have been, let's put it mildly and say they've been rude from time to time. Gregor won't tolerate it because he stands there with me. But when I encounter it, or for whatever reason, you know, we need to see that side of someone, and we need, you know, if I'm giving a consultation to someone and let's say they have a father who was rude and mean and not so great, and if he's suddenly all sweet and light, that's not going to resonate, is it? So sometimes we have to see that character, we have to see that part of them. And I do understand, you know, we don't become perfect beings once we go to the spirit world. And I have had people in the spirit world who have been rude or perhaps been, you know, mean or said mean things. And I will call them on it straight away, unless Gregor got there before me, because I will not tolerate it. Nor will I if I go to Walmart or if I go to a restaurant. Nor will I tolerate rudeness, nor will I tolerate bad behavior. I will not say it. I will stand up and I will say in a very nice way, excuse me, please do not speak to me that way. Or, excuse me, but I think that was very rude of you and you need to change your attitude. I will stand up and I will say these things. As Carolyn can testify,
yes,
she's seen me do it once or twice. I always try to do it nicely, but we have choices. And when we all start to understand that and make our choices, those of us on this earth and those in the spirit world, make your choice. Make your choice to be a nice person. Why wouldn't you? It takes less muscles to smile, I'm telling you, than it does to frown anyway. Tolerance, love, patience, kindness, understanding. Make those choices, and they're the best choices that we can make. Those of you who are on this earth, who have someone in the spirit world who was maybe mean and grouchy and all the rest of it, you might want to send your thoughts that way and try and encourage them. We know that you were mean and so on, and we understand now why. Maybe they grew up in a poor house. Maybe they were beaten senseless as kids. Maybe they were abused. Let's start off with that one, because that's how we started today. Whatever your issues are, and those in the spirit world, whatever their issues are, we can help them. We can help them, in those in the spirit world, by saying, you know, we understand, or even by saying we don't understand it, but we hope you're happy now. I had a mother who certainly was extremely mean, miserable, unhappy, and put all that misery on to others. My wish for her, my hope for her, is that she's happy wherever she is, that she's happy, that she's having a great time, and that she's come to terms with who she is. Whether she has or not, I don't know. It's up to us, if we can, to help those in the spirit world by sending our good thoughts and our prayers to them. None of us are perfect. Remember that. None of us are perfect. Not even me.
Marissa has a real quick question.
Very quick, because we're almost out of time. Hi, Marissa.
She went to the eye doctor. She's got to go for to a specialist, but today her eyes are doing well, she said.
Okay.
But
is she on our healing list?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
When somebody passes over and they were disabled or blind, when they pass over and they are not in that condition anymore, is it a shock for them, or do they remain in that position? Are they still blind, or
no.
They still?
Okay. However, I'm going to tell you a brief little story. Many years ago, I did a radio show where I think I shocked half of Yorkshire. Actually, it was a Halloween show, and we had there were 3 people on with me. One read cards or something, one did the tarot, and I can't remember what the other one did, and then there was me. And we had a woman on the show, and she was actually blind. I can tell you that those who are blind, physically blind, are often much more able to see in a spiritual sense than those of us who are fully physically sighted. It does not, just because you are physically impaired does not mean that you can't feel. For instance, a man who is paralyzed can feel in a spiritual sense much more so than they can in a physical sense. So our senses not only are physical, but our senses also are spiritual. So when we when we pass into the spirit world, whatever disabilities we might, or deformities, physical disabilities, physical deformities, or even mental deformities that we might seem to have. Because when I say mental, I'm talking about damaged brain or what have you. Whatever deformities we may have, they are gone. They're simply gone. And I think a lot of people are surprised when they find themselves in the light and they see themselves as whole, and they can see, or that leg that was missing for all of those years is, you know, whatever, or they can use their hands now, or they're not, you know, disabled. I remember David, if you read the Evening of the Rose, there's a story of a boy called David who was born with severe cerebral palsy and very, very, very disabled all of his life. And I remember him saying to his mum, when his mum came for a consultation with me, and I remember him saying, "Tell my mum I can run now. I can walk, I can run, I can skip, I can jump, I can do all of those things that I would never do." And guess what? He says, and he was laughing at me when he said it, "I can talk. Listen to me talk. I can talk now, and I can make her understand what it is I want to say." So on that note, all right, I'm not sure what we're doing next week, but we'll let you know what the topic is for next week. If you have ideas of topics, please let us know. Watch FaceTime. Next week we're going to be Facebook even. Thank you. Next week we're going to be doing all sorts of things. We're going to make some skinny mini fruit pies, I think, and I'm going to come up with something or another. I was thinking of a peaches and cream custard one. Doesn't that sound good?
Yes.
I've got to experiment though, so I'm experimenting this weekend, and I'll let you know what I come up with. All right, so if you need to connect with us, please email us, rosemary@rosemaryataltea.com. Go on Facebook, you'll find all the delicious cooking goodies. And aside from other things as well, if you need healing, please go to our healing page, put yourself down there, or put yourself on our list. We send healing out every day. We are on Meetup, so hello to everybody on Meetup. Where else are we on? We're on Twitter, and we're
Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Meetup.
There you are. We're not on Instagram yet, but my daughter and I are planning on doing something for Instagram, and I'm going to New York in 2 or 3 weeks' time. And so she's going to show me how to do something on Instagram. So for all of you Instagrammers out there, watch out. Keep us posted. Carolyn and I have not forgotten. We are going to go ghost hunting at some point. It's just, when are we going to fit it in? Proud Spirit, it should be here today. We have to read through it, do the final edit, so you may even be able to buy it as soon as next week. We're not sure yet. And so I think that's it. Yes?
Dean was saying that we should take this on the road like Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin.
Really? Take the show on the road?
Yeah, and Maggie says, "You better make that road California."
Well, you know, if any of you out there would like me to come out there to wherever you are, no matter where in the world, and you can organize, you know, workshops, lectures, and enough money that I can, you know, make the trip and not have to, it doesn't have to cost me, I'm yours. Just let me know. So, you know, if you're a person who is a planner, go for it. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you all for joining. Oh, my darling boy. Kachura, come on. Look, see this? He's come to, there you are. Come here. No, you're facing the wrong way. Come on, this way. Quick. We're out of time. So in the meantime, from my darling boy and from me, please, have a very, very, very blessed day.